She was once a barefoot girl, peeking through the dusty window of a classroom she could never enter, the daughter of a woman dismissed as mad, forgotten by society, invisible to the world. But today, everything has changed. She's no longer on the streets. She's back in school, this time at one of the finest private schools in the city, under the care of a powerful billionaire. Her mother, once left to wander, is now receiving treatment in one of the best psychiatric hospitals. But questions linger. Will her mother ever recover? Will Skolola complete her education? Or will Chief Agu, like Annie Linda before him, vanish when she needs him most? Sit back, relax, and grab your popcorn. This story will leave you speechless. The air inside the courtroom was heavy, almost sacred, as if time itself was holding its breath. Skolola sat quietly between Chief Agu and Jessica, her palms sweaty, her heart beating like a wild drum inside her chest. She wore a simple navy blue dress, freshly ironed by one of the housemaids. On her feet, her very first pair of leather flats. They pinched her toes, but she didn't care. Today wasn't about comfort. Today was about belonging. She looked up at the towering walls, the shuffle of papers, the impassive faces of lawyers and reporters, the slow, lazy spin of the old ceiling fan. Everything around her felt too big, too official. She was just a girl from the streets, wasn't she? Skolola. Her name rang from the judge's lips. She flinched. "Yes, sir," she whispered, barely audible. The judge, a tall man with gray sideburns and glasses slipping down his nose, leaned forward. His eyes were unexpectedly kind. "Do you understand why we're here today?" "Yes, sir. Chief Agu wants to adopt me. And how do you feel about that?" Her throat tightened. She glanced at Chief Agu, who gave her a small nod, steady, reassuring, like the ground beneath her feet when everything else trembled. "I feel like I'm finally home," she whispered. "Are you sure, child? No one is forcing you." She turned to Jessica, whose eyes brimmed with tears of excitement, then back at the man who had lifted her from poverty and given her a seat at his table. "No one forced me," she said, stronger this time. "I choose him." A murmur rippled across the courtroom. The judge smiled gently, flipping the page before him. "By the authority vested in this court, in the state of Lagos, I hereby grant the petition of Chief Maxwell Agu to adopt Skolola as his legal daughter." The gavel came down with a sharp crack, bang, and something inside Skolola broke open. The heavy walls that had caged her heart since childhood crumbled. She was no longer a forgotten street child. She was Skolola Agu, daughter of love, daughter of a billionaire. Tears spilled before she could stop them. Jessica threw her arms around her, sobbing. "We're sisters now." "We always have been," Skolola whispered. Outside, the media swarmed them with flashing cameras and shouted questions. "Chief Agu, why adopt a street girl?" "Skolola, how do you feel?" "Jessica, how does this change your family?" But none of it mattered. Not when Chief Agu placed his hand firmly on her shoulder and said only, "She is my daughter, and I am proud of her." That evening, the mansion glowed with warmth. Balloons floated across the living room. The cook served fried rice and peppered chicken. Even the housekeeper, who once wrinkled her nose at Skolola's dusty feet, now smiled and handed her a wrapped gift. On the dining table sat a white frosted cake with the words, "Welcome home, Skolola Agu." She froze. She had never seen her name on a cake, never even celebrated a real birthday. "Cut it," Jessica urged, handing her the knife. "It's the start of your new life." Her hands trembled. Before cutting, she turned to Chief Agu. "Why me, sir? There are so many children like me. Why did you choose me?" He walked over, knelt to meet her eyes, and spoke softly. "Because when I found you, you had nothing, yet you gave my daughter everything. Joy, confidence, hope. And without even realizing it, you gave me something too, a second chance to be a father." Her lips quivered. "But I don't know how to be a daughter. I've never had a family." He smiled. "Then we'll learn together." With that, she sliced into the cake. Later that night, long after the celebration ended, Skolola sat on the balcony outside her new bedroom, staring at the stars. Her heart was full, yet fragile. "How did a girl like me end up here?" she whispered. God, I don't deserve this, but thank you. I won't let you down. Somewhere down the hall, Jessica was already snoring. Across town, her mother lay in a hospital bed, still mixing up the names of stars. And deep inside Scala's soul, something unfamiliar took root. Peace. Real peace. For the first time, she wasn't alone. She wasn't forgotten. She was home. Weeks later, the stage was set at the Grand Lago Civic Center. Red carpets lined the floor. Banners read National Spelling Bee Championship, the minds of tomorrow. Cameras flashed, parents murmured, and nervous children whispered their words under their breath. But backstage in the far left corner, Shola sat calmly, legs crossed, lips moving silently as she spelled word after word in her mind. Jessica nudged her. Nervous? Shola opened her eyes, steady and sure. No, just ready. Jessica smiled. Let's do this for the mango tree. Shola grinned. For the mango tree. They had made it to the top 5 finalists in the entire country. All around them stood brilliant child prodigies from elite private schools, their uniforms crisp, their smirks confident, until they saw Shola and Jessica step forward. The announcer's voice rang out. Ladies and gentlemen, we are now down to our final 3 contestants. Applause erupted. From Queen's Crest International, Miss Jessica Agu and Miss Shola Agu. A ripple moved through the crowd. Murmurs spread. Isn't that the girl from the news? The one Chief Agu adopted? Wasn't she homeless? Shola heard every whisper, but her eyes stayed steady. She looked the front row, where Chief Agu sat calm in his gray caftan. His eyes locked on hers. He gave her a slow, firm nod. She nodded back. The spelling round began. Contestants fell one by one, words twisting tongues, nerves betraying sharp minds. But Shola was like water, flowing, calm, unshaken. Philanthropy. Correct. Ecclesiastical. Correct. Ubiquitous. Correct. Jessica matched her step for step, round after round, until the 2 girls, sisters by love, stood alone at the top. The hall buzzed. The newspapers would later call them the Queens of Queen's Crest. Now it was Jessica's turn. She stepped up to the microphone. Your word is chiaroscuro. Jessica blinked. She took a breath. Chiaroscuro. The buzzer rang. The announcer winced. Incorrect. The correct spelling is chiaroscuro. No. Jessica's face fell, but she turned and gave Shola a thumbs up. No jealousy, only pride. Now it was Skola's turn. The announcer's voice trembled. Miss Shola Agu, if you spell this word correctly, you will be our national champion. Your word is epistemology. The hall went silent. Parents held their breath. Cameras zoomed in. Shola whispered to herself, "Epi means knowledge, like epiphany." Then she said aloud, clearly, firmly, "EPISTMWLGY." A heartbeat passed. Correct. The hall erupted. Cheers, applause, flashing cameras. Chief Agu rose to his feet. Jessica clapped until her palms stung. Shola stood frozen in disbelief until the golden trophy was placed in her hands. She had done it. From scribbling words in the dust to becoming the youngest girl in Nigeria's history to win the National Spelling Bee. The headlines blazed. From street to stardom, Chief Agu's adopted daughter makes history. That night, Shola and Jessica dominated social media. But not all voices cheered. An anonymous user posted an old photo, Shola barefoot, dusty, sitting beside her mother in rags. The insults followed. This is a champion? A gutter girl. Chief Agu is ruining his legacy. Pity adoption for par. The words stung like knives. Shola sat alone on the balcony, scrolling through the hate. Turn it off, Jessica whispered, slipping beside her. Schola's eyes stayed fixed on the screen. Why do they hate me for surviving? They hate what they can't understand, Jessica said softly. But you don't have to let their words stick. Schola's voice cracked. What if they're right? What if I don't belong here? Jessica hugged her from behind. Then none of us do. Moments later, Chief Agu joined them. He sat down, took her phone gently and placed it face down. When I was your age, she began, they called me a bush boy with no class. Now, those same people beg for partnerships. He turned to her, his gaze steady. They laughed when you wrote in the dirt. Now they're choking on your dust. You don't need to prove yourself anymore. Shola, you've already done the impossible. She blinked back tears. It still hurts. I know, he said gently, but scars make us human. Let them talk. Their noise only proves you're rising. Jessica added with a grin. They're staring at your feet because they're afraid of your wings. Shola laughed through her tears. Then let's fly. Weeks later, a plain white envelope arrived. No golden seal, no ceremony, just a return address stamped quietly in black ink. Global Scholars Program, International Education Fund, Washington, D.C., USA. Shola almost tossed it aside. Months ago, one of her teachers had secretly submitted her name, attaching a glowing recommendation and her spelling bee footage. Over 18,000 students across Africa had applied. The odds were impossible. Still, her hand shook as she tore it open. Jessica barged in without knocking. Are you okay? The cook said you've been too quiet. Shola looked up, voice trembling. Jessica, I just got into the most prestigious scholarship in the world. Jessica froze. Then she screamed. That night, the Aga mansion erupted in celebration. Shola had not only been accepted, she ranked first among all African applicants. A full scholarship to one of the top STEM boarding schools in the United States. A laptop, travel stipend, mentorship from Harvard, MIT, and Oxford professors. When Chief Agu read the letter, he didn't smile immediately. He just stared at it, then at her, before quietly walking out. Schola's stomach dropped. Had she upset him? She followed him to the backyard. He stood beneath the mango tree. Their tree. Sir, she whispered. He didn't turn. Do you know what I was doing at your age? She shook her head. I was selling kerosene by the roadside, barefoot, skipping meals so my younger brothers could eat. He turned then, his eyes full glassy. And you? You were teaching my daughter in the dirt with nothing. Now you're going to represent our country on the world stage. Tears welled in her eyes as he reached out, placed a hand on her shoulder, and whispered, You are the harvest of every seed I prayed for under this very tree. Chief Agu's voice trembled as he said, I'm not just proud of you, Shola. I'm honored to know you. Shola blinked hard, holding back tears. I couldn't have done it without you. He placed both hands on her shoulders. No, you did this in spite of everything. I was only a witness. The next day, the world knew her name. Homeless girl turned national champion wins U.S. scholarship. From street to STEM, meet Nigeria's rising genius. Shola Agu makes Africa proud. TV stations called. UNICEF requested interviews. Celebrities reposted her photo with captions like Black Girl Magic and Invest in Education. But even as the world cheered, Schola's heart trembled. Packing her bags for America, she was haunted by questions. What if she didn't fit in? What if they mocked her accent? What if she failed? The night before her flight, she sat under the mango tree with Jessica. The breeze was soft, the moon full. Jessica braided her hair slowly, both girls quiet. I'm going to miss you, Jessica finally whispered. Me too, Shola said. I wish you could come. You'll visit, Shola insisted quickly. And I'll call every day. Jessica sighed. Promise me something. Anything. No matter how big your world gets, don't forget who you are. Shola smiled through the ache. I'll never forget. I'm the daughter of a mad woman and the sister of the bravest girl I know. They both laughed through tears. Morning came. A convoy carried them to the airport. Shola wore the navy blue blazer of the Global Scholars Program, her passport tucked safely beside photos of Jessica and her old, worn-out notepad. At the terminal, Chief Agu pulled her aside. I have something for you. He handed her a small black box. Inside was a delicate gold necklace with a pendant shaped like a mango leaf. Her eyes widened. I had it made, he said softly, fastening it around her neck, so you'll never forget where you came from. Her vision blurred with tears. He pulled her into the longest, strongest hug she had ever known. "My daughter," he whispered. "Fly. And don't look back, unless it's to help someone else rise." "I will," she whispered into his chest. As she boarded, she turned one last time. Jessica stood at the glass, waving furiously, tears running down her cheeks. Chief Agu stood beside her, one hand on Jessica's shoulder. Skolola pressed her palm to the window. "I'll make you proud." The engines roared. The runway stretched ahead. With a final breath, she took off, not just into the sky, but into destiny. 3 months later, her world was unrecognizable. Days filled with labs, libraries, and leadership seminars. She walked hallways with students from 40 nations, debated climate change with scientists, presented a paper on neurological learning, all while wearing a badge that read, Egu, Nigeria. But back home, another story was unfolding. Abini, the woman the world had called mad, was waking up. Dr. Aisha had warned Chief Agu that recovery would be slow, uncertain, painful. "Psychosis this long doesn't heal overnight," she explained. "But with medication, stability, and love, there is hope." At first, there were flickers. Abini blinking at sunlight without screaming, humming lullabies instead of shouting at walls. Then one day she asked, "Where's my plate?" By month 4, she was holding conversations. By month 5, she sat in therapy, asking questions. And by month 6, the question came, "Where's my daughter?" The nurse froze. "Your daughter?" "Yes," Abini said, tapping her chest softly. "She used to call me Mommy. Where is she?" The hospital contacted Chief Agu immediately. Within hours, he booked a flight and called Skolola overseas. "Your mother is asking for you," he said gently. Skolola's heart skipped. Is she okay?" "She's not the same, but she's no longer lost." Tears filled her eyes. "I'm coming home." It was raining when she arrived at the hospital. She stepped from the car clutching a bouquet of sunflowers, her mother's favorite. Jessica held an umbrella over them as they walked through the psychiatric wing. Nurses whispered as they passed. She looked so much like her mother. In the visitation room, Abini sat by the window. Her wrapper was clean, her sweater neat, her hair braided with care. She looked almost like any other woman. Almost. Skolola inhaled deeply, stepped forward, and whispered, "Mommy." Abini turned slowly, blinking. Her voice was unsure. "I'm sorry, do I know you?" Skolola's chest tightened. "It's me, Skolola, your daughter." Abini shook her head. "My daughter died. They told me the gutter water carried her away." "No, Mommy, I'm here. You used to sing me Yoruba lullabies. You called me princess. We begged together at mile 12. The man with the guitar gave us bread once, remember?" But Abini's face stayed blank. She pressed her hand to her forehead. I don't remember." The bouquet slipped from Skolola's hands. She sank to her knees, sobbing. Jessica rushed to hold her. "It's okay," Jessica whispered. "She's trying. Give her time." But time wasn't changing what was already breaking. For days, Skola visited faithfully, bringing biscuits, a new wrapper, an old songbook, photos of the spelling bee, even a picture of the mango tree. And every day, Abini only smiled politely. "You're very kind, dear, but I have no daughter." On the 6th day, Skola finally snapped. She rose from her chair, her voice cracking. "Do you know what I endured for you?" Skolola's voice trembled. "I bathed you with gutter water. I carried you through streets while people threw stones at us. I fed you soaked Gary while I starved. I fought boys who laughed at you. And now, you don't even remember me." Her mother stared ahead, unblinking. Skolola turned and fled the room. She collapsed under the mango tree outside the hospital garden, hugging her knees. Jessica found her there. "She's gone," Skolola whispered. "She's alive, but she's not my mother anymore." Jessica sat beside her. "She's healing." The mind heals like broken bones, slowly, unevenly, and not always the way we expect. Skolola wept in her arms. On her final day before returning to the U.S., she went to say goodbye. She found Abani humming to a flower in a vase. Kneeling beside her, Skolola said softly, "Even if you don't remember me, I will always remember you." She placed a framed photo in Abani's hands, the picture they had once taken at Queen's Crest under the mango tree. In it, Skolola was smiling, and Abani, wild-eyed but joyful, was laughing. Abani studied the photo for a long time. Then she said, "She looks like me." "She is you," Skolola replied, smiling through her tears. Abani reached out, placing a hand on her daughter's cheek. "You have a beautiful heart, my dear." Skolola pressed her hand over her mother's. "You gave it to me?" As she left the hospital, she whispered a prayer. "God, if she never remembers, it's okay. Just keep her safe. Keep her smiling." That night, Chief Egu embraced her. "She may not remember your face," he said, "but the love you gave her is still inside her, and that love made you who you are." Skolola nodded. "Maybe that's enough." It began with a knock at the mansion gate, not loud or impatient, but measured, quiet, yet deliberate. Musa, the gatekeeper, slid open the small hatch and saw a man in a faded brown suit. His face was hardened by time and hardship, his eyes sharp and unsettlingly familiar. "I'm here to see Chief Egu," the man said. "Your name, sir?" The stranger handed him a stained envelope. "Give him this. He'll understand." Inside was a single page. No greeting. No title. "I am the biological father of Skolola. Her mother's name is Abani. I abandoned her years ago, but I have come for my child. I am ready to take her back now." Signed, Oladipo Akani. When Chief Egu read the letter, something inside him stiffened. The hand that carried Skolola fought for her, and Razor now trembled, not with fear but with fury. He called for her. Skolola entered the study and froze. A man sat across from Chief Egu, tall, dark-skinned, with a crooked smile and eyes that measured her like property. "Skolola," Chief Egu said, his voice steady, "this is Mr. Oladipo. He claims to be your biological father." The word struck like thunder. "My what?" she stammered. The man rose. "You've grown. You look just like your mother." She stepped back. "How do you know her?" He shrugged. "She was mine long ago, until she went mad." Her knees weakened. Jessica, silent until now, moved closer. "You abandoned us," Skolola whispered. "I didn't abandon," Oladipo replied coolly. "I left. There's a difference. Your mother was unstable, dangerous. I couldn't raise a child in that chaos." "She told me you told her to abort me," Skolola said, her voice breaking. "Then you vanished for over a decade." "I was scared," he barked. "I was young. I had nothing. But now you're somebody. A star. I came to take you home." Chief Egu's voice cut through the room. "She has a home." Oladipo sneered. "You think money makes you a father? You think adoption papers erase blood. You only appeared once the world began applauding." Chief Egu answered evenly. "That's not fatherhood." "I don't want your money," Oladipo snapped. "I want my child, my flesh, my legacy." Skolola stood frozen between the two men, one who gave her life and the one who saved it. "I don't even know you," she whispered. "You weren't there when I was sick, when I slept in gutters, when I begged for food, when I held my mother as she screamed in traffic. You weren't there. I didn't know you were alive," he shouted. "Yet you knew to come when I made headlines," she replied. His eyes narrowed. "If you don't come willingly, I'll take this to court. You're a minor, and I'm your blood." Chief Egu straightened. "Fine. Let the court decide." The case shook the city. Social media lit up. Some argued Oladipo deserved a second chance. He made mistakes, but he's still her father. She has a right to know her roots. Others defended Chief Egu. Blood doesn't raise a child. Love does. A man who runs from fatherhood should never return just to reap glory. The court ordered DNA testing. The results were undeniable. Oladipo was indeed her biological father. But the final decision would hinge on Skolola's testimony. Would she return to the man who left her for dead, or remain with the one who fought to give her life? The courtroom was silent, charged with tension. Reporters huddled at the back, pens poised. Skolola stood alone in the center, small in size, but her presence filled the room. Her braids were pulled neatly into a bun, her navy blazer marked with the Queen's crest insignia. Her posture was straight, though her fingers trembled. The judge leaned forward. Miss Skolola Agu, before this court rules, you have the right to be heard. Who do you choose as your legal guardian? The air froze. Skolola looked to her left, at Oladipo, her biological father, in a borrowed suit, his legal team behind him, fueled by sponsors chasing publicity. Then she turned to the other side. He shifted in his seat, awkward in the role of father, yet desperate to matter. To his right sat Chief Maxwell, dignified in a dark blue suit. His calm, unreadable eyes spoke more than words ever could. Throughout the trial, he had remained silent, letting his love and record testify on his behalf. Skolola faced the judge, her voice trembling at first. When I was born, one man gave me life, but then he left. She swallowed hard. My mother begged him to stay. He walked away and never came back, never checked on us. Not once. Not when we slept in gutters. Not when we starved. Not when people spat and called us cursed. Her eyes glistened, but she held firm. I used to dream he'd return, that he'd kneel and hug me and say, I'm sorry I was wrong. But he didn't. He only came back when I was on the news, when I won, when I was worth something. Turning to Oladipo, her tone sharpened. I forgive you, sir, but I do not owe you my future. The courtroom stirred, gasps, whispers, darting glances. Skolola turned again, this time to Chief O. This man found me in rags, under a mango tree, teaching his daughter with a stick in the dirt. I never asked for help. I didn't even know how, but he gave me more than help. She touched her chest. He gave me a name, a bed, a toothbrush, a chance. He showed me what it means to be loved. And never, not once, did he ask for anything in return. Tears now spilled freely, but her voice grew stronger. So I choose him. I choose Chief Maxwell, not because he is rich, not because he is famous, but because he saw me when the world walked past me. She turned back to the judge. I choose the man who gave me life by loving me, not just the one who helped me exist. For a moment, silence reigned. Then a single clap rang out. Jessica, hidden in the gallery, stood with eyes wet with pride. Soon the hall echoed with applause until the judge lifted his gavel. This court hereby rules in favor of continued custody under Chief Maxwell O. All biological claims are considered closed. Case settled. Outside, reporters swarmed. Flashes, microphones, relentless questions. Skolola, is blood not thicker than water? Did you reject your father for wealth? What happens to your real family now? She lifted her chin. Love, she said, is thicker than blood. Then she walked into Chief O's waiting arms. That evening at the mansion, there was no party, no speeches, no press, just peace. Jessica sat barefoot on the rug. Skolola curled beside her on the couch. I was scared, Skolola whispered. Jessica grinned. You didn't look scared. You looked like a queen. Skolola smiled faintly, her eyes drifting into thought. 10 years later, the dusty courtyard of Queen's Crest International School now bore a golden plaque in honor of Skolola from street to scholar. Inside a grand hall, chandeliers sparkled, violins filled the air, and guests in fine gowns and suits mingled. Cameras flashed as 2 women walked arm in arm down the red carpet. Dr. Skolola, 22, radiant in emerald green, her name embroidered in gold at her hem. Beside her, Barrister Jessica O., elegant in deep blue, the same shade she wore the day they first met under the mango tree. No longer teacher and student. They stood as equals, sisters, leaders, change makers. Skolola had just graduated with distinction in neuropsychiatry, the very field that once defined her deepest wound. Now she walked hospital corridors with confidence, restoring dignity to those society had cast aside, because she understood their pain. She had lived it. Jessica, meanwhile, had risen as one of Nigeria's fiercest human rights lawyers. She defended children accused of witchcraft, fought for prison reform, and became known as the voice of the voiceless. But tonight wasn't about courtrooms or hospitals. Tonight, they launched their joint dream, the Mango Tree Foundation for Mental Health and Dignity, dedicated to free care, safe homes, and rehabilitation for Nigeria's most forgotten. The MC announced, "Tonight, we celebrate not only two extraordinary women, but a vision born from ashes, a friendship born under a mango tree, and a love story, not of romance, but of redemption." Thunderous applause. Jessica spoke first. "I remember being called dumb. I remember teachers rolling their eyes, making me feel invisible, until a barefoot girl in rags showed me my mind wasn't broken. She was my teacher." The audience clapped as she gestured to Skolola. Skolola approached, notepad in hand. "I was called the daughter of a madwoman. I was chased from schools, slapped by strangers, laughed at while my mother begged for bread. I never thought I'd stand here, let alone as a doctor, let alone opening a foundation." Her voice softened. "For years, I thought if my real father wanted me, the hole inside would heal. But now I know it was filled long ago, by a man who chose me, by a sister who believed in me, by a family who made me whole." Jessica leaned her head on her shoulder. "You were never missing a father. Skola, you were just waiting for the right one." Later, as laughter and music filled the night, Chief O stood quietly in the courtyard, smiling as he watched the two women. Jessica debated passionately with a judge. Skola laughed among international doctors. And under the stars, the man who once found a barefoot girl under a mango tree finally saw the full harvest of Love .2 girls he once called daughters had now become leaders in their own right. Closing his eyes, he whispered softly, "Thank you, God. You gave me daughters I never asked for, but I will spend my life protecting them." The following week, the foundation opened its very first facility. It stood on Lagos mainland, a bright and welcoming space offering free therapy, medication, meals, and shelter to people living with schizophrenia, bipolar disorder, postpartum depression, and trauma. The reception area featured a striking mural, a mango tree, with two girls beneath it. One wore a blazer, the other a ragged dress. Both smiled side by side. Written above them in golden ink were the words, "Wounds can teach what textbooks cannot. Dignity is a human right. No mind is too broken to heal." On the day of the ribbon cutting, a familiar figure walked through the doors, a beanie, Skalala's mother. She was now stable, living in a group home, and teaching art therapy to other patients. When she saw the mural, she paused. "That's beautiful," she whispered. "It looks like someone I used to know." From behind the desk, Skolola smiled. She didn't correct her. She didn't need to, because some memories live in the heart, even when the mind forgets. And so it was that the daughter of a once-lost woman became a healer of minds, and the girl once dismissed as dumb grew into a defender of truth. Together, they built not just a foundation, but a future. As the sun set over Lagos, golden shadows stretched across the courtyard of the newly opened Mango Tree Foundation. Children played near the gardens. A woman in a lilac headscarf swept the steps, humming gently. Inside, gospel music floated to the halls, while nurses distributed evening medication. But outside, under the real mango tree planted at the center of the compound, Skolola sat alone, barefoot, peaceful. No cameras, no guards, no media. Just her, the breeze, and the rustle of mango leaves above. She was no longer the little girl who once hid behind a school window. She was now Dr. Skolola, one of the youngest neuropsychiatrists in the country. And yet, titles and accolades aside, she always returned to Mango Tree, the place where her life had changed, where she first taught, where she was first seen, where hope was born. Footsteps approached. "You're hiding again," Jessica teased, dropping onto grass beside her in a crisp white blouse and black heels. "I'm reflecting," Skolola replied with a smile. Jessica chuckled. Same thing. They sat in silence, watching the sky shift colors. Then Jessica asked, "Do you ever miss it?" "Miss what?" "The mango tree at Queen's Crest. The lunches we sneaked, the math problems we solved, the dreams we shared." Skolola opened her eyes and smiled. "I don't miss it. I carry it." Jessica frowned playfully. "What do you mean?" Skolola tapped her chest. "It's here. Every time I meet a patient who has forgotten their name, every time I hug a mother who thinks her child is cursed, every time I see a girl with a notepad under a bridge, I remember who I was and what we built. Jessica's throat tightened. Do you think people will ever stop judging the mentally ill? Skolola was quiet for a moment, then answered softly, maybe not. But even if they don't, they'll never again be able to say no one cared. Later that evening, the foundation held a memorial for a patient who had passed peacefully in her sleep, an elderly woman clutching a photo of the son she hadn't seen in 30 years. Skolola led the prayer. Standing with the woman's daughter, she said gently, she was not mad. She was misunderstood. And now she is free. Nearby, a nurse whispered, she's not just a doctor. She's a light. And truly, Skolola had become more than a name. She had become a symbol of survival, of education, of second chances. That weekend, Chief O hosted a private dinner at his mansion garden. Only family and close friends attended. Abini was there too, her eyes clearer than ever. She no longer remembered the streets or the haunting voices, but she remembered music. That night, as a boy strummed a guitar, she sang softly. From across the table, Skolola watched with tears in her eyes. Jessica leaned in. She may not remember you fully, but you made her whole again. Skolola nodded. And that's enough. Later, Chief O raised his glass. To daughters. Daughters who remind us that family isn't just who we create. It's who we fight for. You saved my life, each in your own way. And through you, many more will live. Skolola stood. I used to beg the stars just to see me, not to save me, not to make me rich. Just see me. And one day a man did. She raised her glass. To the man who didn't just see a mad woman's child, but saw a daughter. The room fell silent before erupting into applause. Later that night, back in her room, the same guest room she lived in over a decade ago, Skolola pulled out her most treasured possession, a small, frayed notepad. Inside were fading scribbles, math problems written with charcoal, vowel sounds scrawled in pencil, Jessica's name written shakily on the first page. She pressed it to her chest and whispered, I made it, Mama. The next morning, the gates of the Mango Tree Foundation opened to welcome new patients and volunteers. Skolola and Jessica stood at the entrance in matching shirts. The foundation's logo displayed proudly. Below it were the words, no one is too broken to be healed. Looking at the crowd, children, elderly women, teachers, students, journalists, Skolola took a deep breath. She knew this movement had begun with something small, a homeless girl, a broken mother, a window, a friendship, and a mango tree. Today, the Mango Tree Foundation has 6 centers across 5 states. Thousands have been treated. Hundreds reunited with their families. Dozens have become advocates themselves. And though Skolola's name is now listed among Nigeria's most influential young women, if you ask her where it all began, she'll smile, point to her heart, and say, right there in the dirt, with a pencil and a dream. Her story is a reminder that no child is worthless, and no condition makes someone unlovable. It proves that one act of kindness, one chance, one friendship can ignite a legacy that changes the world. So, tell us in the comments, what touched you most about this journey? If this story inspired you, give it a like, share it with someone who needs hope today, and don't forget to subscribe so you never miss another powerful story. And always remember, there is hope even under a mango tree.